The stories shared on the Busy Baddies are submitted by real listeners and are intended for entertainment and discussion purposes only. To protect the privacy of everyone involved, all names, companies, and identifying details have been changed or omitted. Any resemblance to real people or events are purely coincidental. We believe in keeping it real while keeping it respectful. Thank you for sharing your experiences and for trusting us to spill the tea with care.
When the lights go low and the real work begins, this is the Busy Baddies.
Where assistants come uncensored, the stories get spicy, and the corporate filter, Control Alt Delete.
I'm Michelle, EA to the CEO of a Fortune 150 company.
And I'm Mel, former C Suite EA turned admin rebel.
And we're here to talk about the real stuff, the stories that never make it to the all hands meeting.
Hey, baddies, welcome back.
Hey, y'all.
This week we're talking about saying no and setting boundaries. And kind of to lay the landscape this week, I think we'll start out with, you know, why saying no is so hard for us as a profession and, why it feels so hard.
Yeah. I think the root of it is it's hard to kind of draw the line of what's being asked
Hmm.
and that our job is supporting somebody.
Hmm.
So it feels like no isn't an option really.
Right. Yeah.
And why is that? I think for myself earlier in my career,
Hmm.
I think that would definitely be the case, that
Sure.
no, you
Hmm.
cannot say no.
Yep. Yeah. And I think I always think about it as I always had the internal fear of coming across as unhelpful
Yeah,
because to me, saying no could be seen as unhelpful, unflexible, or, you
doesn't
know,
feel good when you're being
exactly.
told it.
Yes. And I'm a person who feels guilt when I don't say yes to everything.
Hmm.
And, tying back to several episodes even from that, in speaking of, you know, there is a cost to not saying no, right?
Hmm.
It comes at a very heavy weight. It causes you to sacrifice something. So, I think that's why this is a super important topic.
Yeah, and it's kind of like even how you feel after you say no.
Oh, yeah.
Where you know that no is probably the
Mhm.
right answer, but then you have instant regret, or your brain kind of takes over of what's that? What are they
Oh,
thinking if now,
right.
right? Like,
Right.
are they ever going to come and ask me something again?
Right. Yeah. Are they going to go ahead and post my job because it looks like
Right.
I'm not willing to do my job? But, and that's a good call out is the emotional weight of, the guilt that we have, the obligation we feel that we have, and even your loyalty can be called into question.
For sure.
So I think, it's one of those things that it's a very relatable topic, and again, I think that's why, we even decided to do this is because nobody talks about the hard stuff
Hmm.
that comes with the job and really gives you kind of a how-to guide or even a way to kind of navigate it for yourself because regardless of what you hear, it is okay to say no.
Yeah, I mean, just think of all the times you are training somebody or you've been trained by
Mhm.
someone. I mean, there's not a no topic, or here's all the things that in this role prior to you I've said no to.
Yes.
So it's not even, you're not even trained
Yeah.
to say no.
Yeah. And it's okay, I mean, no is hard, but as you said, I think even in the teaser of no is a complete sentence.
Yeah.
When I say no, I think over explaining it also expresses guilt, like you
Yeah.
did something
No,
wrong.
but
Right.
yeah.
Right. I had to do X, Y, and Z, and this is that. And they don't really care because once you keep speaking after you say the word no, they
Yeah.
don't hear anything
No,
else
it's
anyway.
tuned out.
Yeah. They're like, okay, great. Well, she said no.
Yeah.
And it is okay to say no because I think it is important for even as EAs, but also in your personal life as a spouse. I think it's good to have healthy boundaries
Yeah.
and to learn and practice saying no.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to say no.
Yeah, I mean, even supporting a team,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure no probably comes into play
Mm-hmm.
more often than a sole leader support role
Yep.
because, here then you're spread out amongst, let's say,
Mm-hmm.
3 people.
Yep.
You know, you're going to have to practice your no's
Mm-hmm.
and understand that it may be a no right now,
Mm-hmm.
but it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm not going to get to it tomorrow or
Right.
whatever the
Yeah.
case may be.
Yeah.
So just getting in that habit of whoever you're giving the answer no to understands that it could be
Mm-hmm.
because of XYZ.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's a good point is we're not just talking about saying no to your boss.
Hmm.
It could be a coworker or someone that's on your team because I think oftentimes people look at no as a form of rejection when really it could be more you protecting. You're saying
Yes,
no
very
because
good point.
you're protecting, the leader and the time and the things that you may know that are coming down the pipe that somebody else doesn't.
Yeah.
So I think that's another great point is it's not just saying no to your boss, it's saying no to coworkers as well.
Yeah. I mean, and that could mean, like you pointed out, and that's a great point, is my no could be for so many reasons that
Mhm.
you would have no insight of why.
Mhm.
And I think we get into the habit of
Mhm.
feeling like we have to explain
Yes.
everything.
Mhm.
And then it turns into, gosh, I just shared my leader's whole week
Mhm.
just so I felt good behind my answer of no,
Mhm.
which I think can also get you into a bad habit.
Mhm.
People don't need to know why you're saying no.
Mm-mm.
They have to come with the respect of I must be getting no for a reason
And a good
and
reason.
a good reason.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great point because I think oftentimes as peers, you have one person who is getting pushed to get a yes from, let's say, the CEO's assistant because they have to have that time. But if the CEO's assistant is saying no, there's probably a reason that you don't understand and or their peer or direct report doesn't need to know anyway.
Yeah.
So that's a great call out as far as that goes.
And I always try and give everybody the benefit of the doubt
Mhm.
of there's no way they understand the complexity of a leader's calendar
Mm-mm.
because most of the time people asking for something, they don't have the calendar
Mm-mm.
that your leader probably does.
No.
And so for those of you listening out there that fall on that side, please understand that 30 minutes that you may be requesting is nothing, right? It's not a huge amount of time. Um, it's just that leaders at our caliber
Mhm.
have your calendar times 100.
Yes.
And so although it's just 30 minutes in your eyes, it's a different 30 minutes in ours.
Yes, absolutely. And I think, again, tying back to the bigger picture, if you are at a company that has a strategic vision for the year ahead, you have something such as a goal tree or accomplishments they want to make as a leadership team, you have to understand that we prioritize that time based on what that strategic vision is
Yes.
for
Right.
the organization, for the team as a leadership team. Um, and if that 30 minutes can be used to move the needle, increase profitability, allow them to meet with another leader who is actually pushing the initiatives forward.
Yeah.
It's more a no from a strategic standpoint
Yeah.
than they just don't have time for that.
Or they just don't want to talk to you. It
100%.
has nothing to
Yes.
do with that.
Yes. And 9 times out of 10, every leader that I've worked for, they love interacting with people and giving people that face time because, again, time is the greatest commodity that you have, but it is also very limited.
Yeah.
And they can't work 24/7, to make sure that they're making time for every single thing
Yeah.
because at the end of the day, they're driving a business forward. They're, trying to make it profitable so all of us do well and we keep our jobs.
Right. And they also have families and
Mhm.
kids. And
Yes.
so they're also trying to balance
Yep.
work life.
Yep. Absolutely.
And so, because trust us,
Yeah.
we could fill their calendar 24/7.
100%. There's never enough time.
Never enough time. And meeting with people I know energizes my leader,
Mhm.
fills her cup.
Yep.
And so those are hard no's
Mhm.
because it's something that I'm sure leaders
Mhm.
enjoy
Yep.
doing. It's
Yeah.
just one of those unfortunate sacrifices
Mhm.
that have to get made.
Yeah, like you said, it re-energizes them for
Mhm.
sure. Because they don't want to sit in thought-provoking meetings all day long, make
Yeah,
decisions. Like, it's nice to have the breakup of
no kidding.
just a general conversation and helping put somebody's career forward, but at the same time, especially as I feel like we get into Q4 and Q1 of a new year, everybody is just very focused and driven.
Oh yeah. It almost feels like the second half of the year is
Yes,
always more chaotic
yes.
than the front half.
It's like the Hail Mary of the
Yeah.
football, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah, you got your mid-years, and then you're like, "Oh, darn, I need to move this, I've been ignoring this all year,"
Mhm.
and, new things kind of ramp up.
Yep, absolutely. So, yeah, it's okay to say no. Don't feel guilt about it. I think that you just need to look at it more from and gaining, going back to the previous one of the previous episodes about gaining confidence, having the confidence of when you say no that you can feel good about that.
Yeah. And one thing my leader has always said to me, and it's now ingrained in
Mhm.
me, is always assume positive intent.
That's a great, yeah.
So don't automatically assume
Mhm.
that the no is coming from a bad place,
Right.
or whatever the case may be,
Yep.
that it's always going to come from positive intent.
That's a great way to end that segment.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. So how do we say no without guilt? And let's kind of tailor this as verbal no's versus written no's, right?
Mm.
Because saying no in an email, I think, opens you up for way more negative energy. And you have
Mhm.
to be way more mindful in an email saying no. And I think as admins, we mentioned it a little earlier, is here's where I think admins get into the bad habit of over explaining
Mhm.
why the answer is no.
Yes. And I always go back to what my parents said, which is, you know, it's, you know,
If you don't have anything nice to
to say
say,
don't say it at all. No, and it's just escaped me for some reason, but I think, it's just important. It's not what you say, it's how you say it.
yeah,
That's what they always used to say
yeah,
was it's not how you talk to someone, it's how you present it.
yeah.
So again, great call out in the email because I think again, email is a place where that can get very lost in
Oh
translation
yeah. It's
because
happened many, many times.
yes, because someone again doesn't, as your leader called out, have the positive intent in their
Yeah.
mind and they
Mhm.
think, wow, they are hateful, they're vicious, they're this,
Yeah.
when really you could just be misreading it or seeing the word no automatically becoming defensive.
Right.
Um, so I think tone is definitely
Mhm.
important when you position it.
Yeah, and I think it also depends on the relationship that you have with the
Mhm.
person asking. Is this somebody I've worked with for a long time? Is
Mhm.
this somebody on my team and I can just say no and leave it pretty vague and
Mhm.
they're going to get it?
Yep.
Or is this somebody I've not worked with before
Mhm.
or and they don't really know and you just may have to give a little bit more detail.
Mhm.
Um the what you don't want to happen is immediately after you hit send, like, you get pinged of,
Right.
"Hey, can we chat?" Or I mean, that could
Yeah.
be a good thing too, but
Sure. Yeah.
the you just wanna be mindful that you're being respectful,
Mhm.
you're giving the details needed, but not too much
Right.
if it's unnecessary,
Mhm.
and figuring out a solution maybe in the no response of
Yes.
no, it can't happen in the time frame that you're wanting it, but here's what I can do.
Yes, I think that is the key for me has always been I always want to come across helpful.
Hmm.
So how can I be helpful but also safeguard what I need to safeguard for my leader? Say the hard thing, which is no for me, not feel guilty about it, and give an alternative or I can't do that, but I'll let you know if something else
Yeah.
opens up. If that meeting ends early, I'll give you a ping and you guys can connect. But try to be helpful when you do say no, because again, no is a very harsh word
Yeah.
in itself,
Yeah.
I think.
And maybe another part is not necessarily using no,
Mhm.
because there's other words that can be
Mhm.
used other than no.
Yep.
um Not right now.
Mhm. Yep. Yeah, and I think that that's a good way to kind of segue into, so how do you build the confidence in setting boundaries? Because
Mhm.
I think boundaries, unless you are just a really rigid, unhappy person, can be really difficult for a lot of people.
Yeah.
I am one of them. I think as I've got older, boundaries have got easier for me,
Mhm.
but it's also because I've lost that um, feeling that I need to please everyone, that I'm going to disappoint someone, that I am going to let somebody down,
Yeah.
that I'm not going to be able to do everything. When in reality, I can't do everything.
Right. Yeah.
And having that in my mind of, okay, if I say being smart at what I do say no to
Mhm.
and what I set boundaries for. So how are some ways that you even say no and set boundaries? Like, are boundaries hard for you? Are they easy?
I think for me, if I'm being honest, they're hard.
Yeah.
I think being an EA, I would imagine most of us listening now,
Mhm.
boundaries are hard.
Yep.
I think it's a role that definitely rides the line 24/7
Mhm.
of boundaries and just feeling empowered that no is an okay answer.
Mhm.
And then I think about our um, EAs out there that are new to the role, and
Mhm.
this is their very first uh, leader they're supporting or team. And
Mhm.
no can be very hard because I
Sure.
think there's that pressure of this is what the job is.
Right.
You're supposed to have answers for
Yeah.
everything, do everything,
Yeah.
figure everything out. Somebody has an idea, you bring it to fruition, and that's just kind of the nature of the job.
Mhm.
So maybe a watch out
Yeah.
to those out there that are wanting to become an EA
Mhm.
and you already know yourself and that boundaries are hard,
Mhm.
or you are a people pleaser or you're a perfectionist.
Mhm.
There's going to be a time where you have to say no.
Yeah. And I think it goes back to when we discussed on most things as being an EA, it's like a muscle.
Mhm.
You have to build on it and
Yeah.
you have to work on it. And I think there's some strategic ways that, everybody out there, me included, um, could do. And maybe one way is, keep a list of some small ways that when you said no, the outcome was better,
Yeah. Oh,
maybe,
that's a great idea.
and then it kind of reinforces, okay, saying no isn't a bad thing. When
Yeah.
I said no to X, my leader was able to get YZ done
Yeah.
in a way quicker manner than had I made time for that specific meeting.
Mhm.
So I think, just flexing the muscle, saying no maybe to little things to start with, but also keeping track of, I said no and it actually worked out better.
Well, and also I think let your leader know
Yes.
that saying no is hard for you.
Mhm. Yep.
And when there's people coming at you
Yep.
constantly because, you're supporting a leader that, is leading a lot of work, and
Mhm.
there just has to be all of these meetings, let them know, like, I'm working on setting boundaries for you, setting
Mhm.
boundaries for us as a team,
Yep.
and I'm actively trying to be mindful of saying no.
Yes.
Will you support me?
Mhm.
And, like, be mindful of that, give me feedback. Am
Mhm.
I saying no to the right things?
Mhm.
Because that could be another opportunity lost of, here you think you're doing good, and it also could have been a meeting that
Yeah.
your leader was supposed to have. So just keep that
Mhm.
conversation open,
Yep.
and learning it and figuring out together as a team, especially our new EAs out there with a new leader. They took a
Mhm.
new role, and you're trying to learn one another.
Yeah.
Discuss what boundaries we have. What,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. Get comfortable having the hard conversations and saying the things that you're not good at, because it's better for you to point it out than for them to point it out to
yeah,
you. And I think a lot of times, that's a really great point that you made is, you know, I think leaders respect us when they see that why we are doing something or when we're not good at something, that we're still willing to do that,
hmm,
even though it's uncomfortable for us, because it builds respect and trust.
yeah,
So I think that's a great point, for sure, because I think that's the bottom line of everything, is that you really do want, at the end of the day, your leader to trust you and to respect you. And the reality is that when you're saying yes to everything, nothing is really a priority,
yeah.
you know?
No, no. I mean, it's a free for all for everything,
Yes.
and then you kind of you mentioned goal tree or what the
Mhm.
strategic plans are. I mean,
Yep.
if you're saying yes to everything, something's getting compromised.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know something that you particularly do, and I think some of the other ladies on our team did, that is very helpful, is a time allocation thing for the year ahead,
Hmm.
because I think a lot of times leaders get into the weeds of, they look at the calendar for the day, they just go through the motion, they pop in and out of Zoom, they go in different rooms and meet with people, and they don't really see how they are spending their time across the whole
Yeah,
year.
absolutely not.
So
Yeah.
can you kind of explain to everybody what it is that you do and what even maybe made you start to do that?
Yeah, so my leader and I, we track her time
Mhm.
literally to the minute.
Yep.
So now that we're into September, I go back, I start with August 1st. We have kind of what you alluded to, her strategic plan for the year, what her
Mhm.
priorities are. And I go back through minute by minute, and I'm allocating, was this a team one on one? Was this a strategy meeting? Was this a customer meeting? And I'm going through and kind of tallying that all up and, putting it in a graph so that we have a visual of, here's how much time this month you've spent where.
Mhm.
Are we too heavy in one on ones and not enough? focusing on, the business financials or,
Mhm.
whatever the group may be. And we can really easily see if we're doing what we're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
And it sticks out like a sore thumb if we're misbalanced
Yeah.
on where the time should be
Yeah.
spent.
So do you guys touch on that quarterly? Do you do it monthly? Like, to me, I don't know what that cadence would be. I think I did this for a little bit with a leader that I had, and there was no interest because regardless of what we did, they were always gonna spend their time doing what they wanted
Yeah.
and making the extra time.
Yeah.
So, how do you break that down?
Yeah, so we do it monthly, and then I break it down in quarters.
Mhm.
And then there's just a running year to date. So
Mhm.
you can look at it in three different ways. And she actually looks at it quarterly
Mhm.
and then kind of refocuses, or if we need adjusting, we do it then on the next quarter. So,
Wow.
yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. I mean, we've been doing it ever since we've been together. So
Mhm.
at this point, it's just second nature.
Yeah.
Um, but it really helps her see, am I spending time where I'm supposed to?
Yeah, so lady and gents out there, that's a good way, for you to not only build confidence and build respect with your leader, but if you see them going down the rabbit hole of making time for maybe non-substantive
Hmm.
information or meetings, that's a good way to point that out to them where it's very black and white, where you can't deny that you have spent X amount of time doing mentoring sessions when really your business sector has only got 30% of your time this quarter,
Yeah.
and that could be why the numbers are going down in profitability.
Right.
So that's a fantastic thing. So if anybody is interested in that, I'm sure that we could come up with a template. You could send us an email. We could
Yeah.
try to, help you with some tools to kind of do that, but I think that's a
Yeah.
great thing.
Yeah. And one thing I wanted to add really quick is, if your no's are being used effectively,
Mhm.
your boss will notice.
Mhm.
Just last week, I had said no to something, and I, kind of passed it on and just said, "Hey, FYI, I took care of this." And her response was, "Keep doing that."
Yeah.
And talk about
That's
great positive
fantastic.
reinforcement of, like, "Oh,
Yeah.
here's a perfect example of
Yep.
my no."
Yep.
Literally, was something that she noticed and said, "Yeah, keep doing that."
Yeah, and it ties back to the confidence thing of you knowing your leader well enough to intentionally say no because you knew that wasn't a good use of her
Yeah,
time, and then her to come back and appreciate that.
yeah,
I mean, talk about confidence booster,
yeah,
like, wow.
yeah. And, that grows, right?
Mhm.
So for the newer ones out there, that will come.
Give it time.
Yeah, give
Yep.
it time.
Yep. All right, baddies, it's tea
Tea
time.
time.
Okay, so today we're doing something a little different. What do we wanna call this?
When the no went wrong.
Oh, what the no went wrong? I
Yeah.
love it. Yeah.
So I have a story. I'll never forget it. I was fairly new with my leader, and kind of in the craziness of figuring all out.
Mhm.
I had got a request for, time with my boss. Didn't think anything of it. Was looking at her calendar and was like, "Yeah, this is not happening."
Yes.
So I, said no.
Mhm.
I obviously don't remember in exact wording or everything. And what happened was that person went straight to my leader and kind of was like, Michelle's a little too much of a guard dog.
Yeah.
I hadn't recognized, you know, whether it was work critical, it was a
Yeah.
relationship that, my boss just wanted to have. Like,
Yeah.
I guess the reasons why I said no is pointless,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So then, get called into the office. and, sat down and was like, hey, so said no to this person, and, this person is somebody
Yeah.
that, I want to meet with, and here's why, which was a great learning, because
100%.
how was I to know?
Right.
But just, it's more of a watch out,
Yeah.
of, you're going to get it wrong,
Yeah.
and it's okay.
Yes.
And, I wish that leader had come to me first, maybe,
Mhm.
and just
Yeah.
explained their self, the
Mhm.
relationship a little better,
Yeah.
because I wasn't brand new, but,
Right.
I wasn't in the role very long either. Um, because that was maybe something that her and I could have then built,
Absolutely.
versus,
Yeah.
going to my leader first.
I hate the go around. There's
Yeah.
nothing that makes me more mad than when I tell someone no and then they think that it's like when you have kids, right?
Yeah.
And they go to
To
you first and then they go to the other parent and be
Yeah.
like, "Well, what did your mom say?"
Yeah.
Yes, when you're completely lying.
Yeah.
Which is a great segue into the story that I have. So I was supporting a CEO at the time, and in that industry that we were in, I will say people used a lot of personal email addresses sometimes.
Mm.
So it was very hard to filter who was who if it was coming from a Gmail or a Yahoo or an
Yeah.
@me.com. And this person sent a note, and I was like, they were like, I need to get like 9 a.m. tomorrow with this person. And I'm thinking, like, there's no way that that can happen. So I'm like, look, like, hey, again, going back to the being explanatory and, no, I'm sorry, X, Y, and Z is going on. They can't miss
Yeah.
that. It was our biggest investor,
Oh,
and
no.
they had sent it from their personal email address because their server was down.
Oh.
Well, and it was one of those ones that was
You
like
woulda never figured it out
kitchen
anyways.
sink baddie at 37yahoo.com,
Yeah,
right? And I'm
yeah,
like, well, how would I ever know that that's who it was? So,
yeah,
again, like you said, pay attention, flag, try to find out, which there was no way that I would have ever known
yeah,
that that is who that person was.
right.
But I told one of the most important people
No.
no, and it went horribly wrong. So after that, you best believe that I saved that email address in that person's contact information. So if they ever sent anything again, but
Yeah,
again, like you said, it's a good learning thing. And
yeah,
and for my part, in all fairness, the person replied directly back to me and was like, "Hey, Melissa, look, I'm sending this from this. I know that you would have never known that. My
oh,
apologies for not
nice.
saying
Yeah.
anything."
Which you
So,
wouldn't always get, by the way, is some
no,
grace.
no, no. So it was like, you were wrong and I was right, but
Yeah.
thanks for pointing that out.
Right.
Next time maybe just sign it with your initials or your name. But
Yeah,
so I think it was a learning for both of us.
yeah,
But again, attention to detail, knowing,
yeah.
and being the rebel that I am, I think, when people would go around me, admittedly, I'm sure I probably deleted a few emails a couple times of people who, wanted a different answer and then they never even got a reply.
Savage.
And I am not sorry about that because to me, we are the gatekeepers.
Yeah,
People need to respect that position
yeah,
enough to not go around us. I think that that's dirty. I think it's
yeah.
dismissive.
It's
And to me, it is
disrespectful.
absolutely, it's a respect thing.
Yeah, and for all they know is we already have that authority from our leader,
Correct.
because of something else that they
100%.
aren't going to know about. So now what you did is you didn't take the no,
Hmm.
you went around us and then put our leader in a position to have to say no
Hmm. Yeah.
and make you look like an idiot
Right.
of, why didn't you go to Michelle?
And then spend time on things that they have no business spending time on.
Yeah.
My boss should not be living in the calendar to find a way to tell you yes.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I think this has been a great episode as far as, I think we've all been there. I think we've all suffered from it,
We
being
will be
natural
in
people
that, we will
pleasers.
be there again,
Yes, time and time again. Well, I won't because I'm not in
Yeah.
EA anymore, but
Yeah.
yes, 100%.
So wrapping up, I mean, I think we as admins, um, can continue to work on our nose. I also want to point out that for many of us, it may not be us being the
Yeah.
people unable to say no, that
Yes.
it is certainly probably for a lot of us that our leaders
Mhm.
have a hard time saying no. So I think working together as a team,
Mhm.
maybe coaching up a little bit more of,
Mhm.
you know, you should have said no to this. Here's now what your next week looks like because
Yep.
we're adding stuff. And certainly things come up. There is an
Mhm.
exception to every rule.
Mhm.
Supporting leaders, we always know that at any time something's going to pop up and take precedence over something else.
Mhm.
So just continue to work on knows what it means to you and your leader as a partnership,
Yep.
and what your knows maybe can then turn into
Yeah,
some positives.
because I think them not being able to say no, they didn't get to where they were by saying no,
Right.
so it's a muscle that they have worked on very much so. So for them, it's the opposite effect of what we have to work on.
Mhm.
We look to ourselves as being not subservient, but in a servant type role,
Mhm.
and that we don't have the power to say no.
Yeah.
And for them, they have the power to say no, but they're so used to not saying no that they feel like they're obligated to say yes.
Yeah.
So it's kind of polar opposite, dynamics that we're trying to work through. But
Yeah.
that's a great point,
Well, and then
definitely.
and then, that lands on our plate.
Hmm. Yeah,
And so that can be a stressor,
absolutely.
for some of us that, you're now having to implement
Hmm.
your leader's
Yeses.
inability to say no.
Yes. Yeah, and sometimes, feel confident enough to call it out and say,
Yeah.
"You understand that we may need to secure some time on the calendar because you can see the vision
Oh
ahead where
yeah.
they're just living in the moment."
Yeah.
So, if you see something, say something.
Yeah.
Is the biggest thing is what's going to come down the pipe. You know what the strategic priorities are. You know what is where their time would be best spent. Be confident enough. What's the worst that's going to happen?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean that's a great point of then maybe look a little farther out
Mhm.
and start planning for the yeses
Yes.
because you know it's going to
Right,
happen.
right, yeah, if you said yes to X, we're gonna have to do it in 4 weeks.
Yeah.
We can't do it tomorrow, but the sun isn't gonna fall,
Yeah.
it's gonna be okay,
Yep.
and most of the time, people just want the FaceTime. They
Yeah.
don't care when it happens as long
Right.
as it happens.
Yeah.
So that's a great point too, is being intentional about as you plan the calendar, set aside an hour or 2 every week for those unexpected things where you can nudge somebody in if it is urgent, but
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, it's not urgent.
Yeah.
And the leader, if they're gonna be able to make time. So,
For
no,
sure.
that's a great way to close it out.
All right, and remember, boundaries aren't walls, they're VIP ropes. And
That's
guess who
right.
holds the list?
That's right.
Us.
Yes, you.
All
Yep.
right, everybody, that's it for us today. Have a great rest of your week.
Alright, see you guys later.
Bye.
Bye. That's it for us today, bringing order to corporate chaos.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that follow button.
Yours truly, Melissa,
And Michelle,
the
the
Busy
Busy
Baddies.
Baddies.